I don't recall the exact time, but we're outside front of our house and heard about 6 gunshots, a pause, some yelling, and then another 6 or 7 gunshots.
So here's some pictures. Back when I had my roommate, old guy, he was a pack rat. I had to get him out of here, but because he was causing me too much grief. But this old guy stayed here for a while. He would go out, and he had a bunch of fishing boats. He didn't stay here much. He had another place. He just wanted to rent a room from me for a while, but he had tons of boats. He was a hoarder. They call them hoarders. In his house, I guess his house was just full of junk.
Yeah, Steve wants to hold on to everything and hoard it. He's a hoarder. He's a money hoarder. He wants to hold on to all of it. He wants to control you and you and you and you.
He was a hoarder. They call them hoarders. In his house, I guess his house was just full of junk.
In other words, like your temple, your house, like you're unclean, full of junk.
In his house, I guess his house was just full of junk. When I finally got him out of here, I was so happy. I was really happy because he wouldn't stop getting things. He wouldn't stop. I let him use some storage space in my building for a short period of time during the time that he was actually stayed here. I think he stayed here for about a year.
May 21st, 2019.
When I finally got him out of here, I was so happy. I was really happy because he wouldn't stop getting things. He wouldn't stop. I let him use some storage space in my building for a short period of time during the time.
You mean on YouTube?
He stayed here. I think he stayed here for about a year.
Yep. Blessed is he who waits.
He was actually stayed here. I think he stayed here for about a year. So for like one summer, the time that he was actually stayed here, I think he stayed here for about a year. So for like one summer.
So far, one summer. One summer was last summer. This summer's the second summer. He's not staying anymore. He is out of here. The year is almost up. This is when I'm finished with my testimony. I'm finished, Steve, with my testimony.
All right, so bombs are dropping. It's over in the east. This is tidings out of the east that's going to trouble. Because there's a king of media who's in charge of all the data that comes to social media. And that king has intelligent agents that are working for him. Intelligent agents. And those intelligent agents, some of them work for the intelligent agency, and others, well, they're just intelligent. There's actual proof, proof that this is happening in a numerical pattern.
I sold that boat for him. I think he sold that boat for like $600, the boat and trailer. It was like $600 or $700, something like that.
I don't recall the exact time, but we're outside front of our house and heard about 6 gunshots, a pause, some yelling, and then another 6 or 7 gunshots.
With a Passover meal. John?
Well, Marianne Rafferty in California. Marianne, thank you.
And we are awaiting another briefing from police about the shooting. It is expected later on in this hour. In the meantime,
John's out here. John's out raking the yard. Look at all the sticks. There's John out there raking the yard.
An all-day Passover service, which was scheduled to end tonight with a Passover meal. John?
days, which happened on the 20th April.
As he was making his approach, he crash landed into the water approximately 150 feet from the helipad. He was able to deploy his flotation device. He was able to get out of his helicopter, stand on the pad. There was a passing boat that picked him up and brought him into the heliport. There was a passing boat that picked him up and brought him into the heliport.
I think he sold that boat for like $600, the boat and trailer. It was like $600 or $700, something like that. I can't remember.
And then again, it's a reference. It's a white male, single lone wolfman. So, and it's called a hate crime. So it's going to be white supremacist. And it's going to be on April 27th. And the person responsible for the script, well, but he's not a, you know what I mean? Police said John Ernest, a 19-year-old white male, turned himself in shortly after shooting.
As our officer was exiting the freeway, he clearly saw the suspect in his vehicle. Suspect pulled over, jumped out of his car with his hands
it's
up,
David.
and was immediately taken into custody.
John's out here. John's out raking the yard. Look at all the sticks. There's John out there raking the yard.
Identify the suspect as John Ernest, date of birth 6/8/99, age 19.
Proof, proof that this is happening in a numerical pattern.
For like $400 or $500, $300 at a time. I think he sold that boat for like $600, the boat and trailer. It was like $600 or $700. So,
I don't recall the exact time, but we're outside front of our house and heard about 6 gunshots, a pause, some yelling, and then another 6 or 7 gunshots.
but every time I sold a boat for him, he spooned me like, $20, $30. So I stayed here at the house, watched over his boats and stuff, and sold fishing boats. I stayed here at the house, watched over. I stayed behind.
Proof that this is happening in a numerical pattern. Stayed behind. A name code with.
For a short period of time, sold fishing boats. For a short period of time.
Till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed a little season. And I saw thrones.
And watched over his boats and stuff and sold fishing boats. For a short period of time. I let him use some storage space in my building for a short period of time in front of my house to sell fishing boats. So we made a deal because he wasn't here a lot. So I watched over his boats. So I stayed here at the house, watched over his boats and stuff, and sold fishing boats.
And to deceive them that dwell upon the earth by the means of those miracles, which he had to do, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. And he causes all them, both small and great, rich, poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in the way that they think, and that no man might buy any boats or sell any boats, save he that had the mark. He had the mark, or the name of the beast, which is the number of his name. We don't need to go over how many times 666 lines up in gematria.
So I watched over his boats. So I stayed here at the house, watched over his boats.
Now don't think for a second that he slipped up and said, I stayed behind. I mean, I sold the boats. He's reading the script. You know what I mean? You're reading the script, Steve. I can tell by the way you're talking. You're not smooth. So you're staying behind May 21st, 2019 for a short season, a short space. Just understand this, that we've already experienced 7 years. 7 years of judgment. This will be the 8th year, going into the 8th, into perdition. It's already been done. So that short space is just about up.
And stuff and sold fishing boats for a short period of time to make some extra money. He would give me, like, every time I sold a boat for him, I'd take the money for the boat and write the customer out a receipt for the boat. But this old man would buy boats. Mark them up a couple $100 or $100 or $150 or whatever.
Mark them up.
So I sold fishing boats here for $100 or $100 or $150 or whatever.
$100, $150, 150 days, 150 till water's abated, whatever.
For the boat. But this old man would buy boats or the trailers and stuff from like Craigslist. And he'd find ones that he could get a good deal on. And then he'd bring them back here and mark them up a couple $100 or $150 or whatever. So I sold fishing boats here in Linwood, Michigan for a short period of time. Here's some of the photos of the boats that he had. Mostly just little fishing boats that were like, he'd sell them for like $400 or $500, $300 at a time. But he had a bunch of them. There was a lot. There was always new ones. I sold that canoe. I remember that. He'd buy tractors too, and trailers. He'd bring back trailers.
This is happening in a numerical pattern.
And then he'd bring them back here and mark them up a couple $100 or $100 or $150. He'd sell them for like $400 or $500, $300. But every time I sold a boat for him, he spooned me like, $20, $30. I think he sold that boat for like $600, the boat and trailer. It was like $600 or $700. So.
1.
It wasn't much.
2.
But every time I
3,
sold a boat for him, he
4,
spooned
5,
me like,
6, 7.
$20, $30. So, and just to keep an eye on everything. So I stayed here at the house, watched over his boats and stuff, and sold fishing boats for a short period of time to make some extra money. He would give me, like, every time I sold a boat for him, I'd take the money for the boat and write the customer out a receipt for the boat. But this old man would buy boats and trailers and stuff from like Craigslist. And he'd find ones that he could get a good deal on. And then he'd bring them back here and mark them up a couple $100 or $100 or $150 or whatever. So I sold fishing boats here in Linwood, Michigan for a short period of time. Here's some of the photos of the boats that he had. Mostly just little fishing boats that were like, he'd sell for like think it was like, and then he'd bring them back here and mark them up a couple $100 or $100 or $150. He could get a good deal on them. And then he'd bring them back here and mark them up a couple $100 or $100 or $150, whatever. So I sold fishing boats here in Linwood, Michigan for a short period of time. Here's some of the photos. But this old man would buy boats or in trailers and stuff from like Craigslist, and he'd find ones that he could get a good deal on.
Two,
and then he'd bring
one,
them back here and
or
mark
150.
them up a couple $100 or $100 or $150.
Couple
whatever.
$100, $100, $150.
I can't remember. It wasn't much, but every time I sold a boat for him, he'd spoon me like, $20, $30. He'd sell them for like $400 or $500, $300 at a time. But $400 or $500, $300 at a time. Some of them were pretty nice. Like this one right here was a nice boat. That was a nice. I sold that boat for him. I think he sold that boat for like $600. The boat and trailer. It was like $600 or $700, something like that. I can't remember. Look at all the sticks. But he had a bunch of them. There was a lot. And there was always new ones. I sold that community. I remember that community. You can buy tractors too. And trailers. Look at all the sticks. You bring back trailers and tractors. There's John out there rigging hard. Stuff like that. You can set it off. We're going to try to get we put our for sale sign up. So that the grass will come in nice. It's already starting to turn green. So some of them were pretty nice. Like this one right here was a nice. That was nice. He's staying for it. He's not paying anything, so he's out here to rake the yard. And since today's the first good, nice day, he's staying here for free. It wasn't mine. He wasn't living in his car. Every time I sold a boat, he was sleeping in his car. Spoon me. He came up from Florida. $20, $30. He was sleeping in his car. And just to keep an eye on it. He used to leave the boat. And then I'll put up that whole. I'll make a video. It wasn't much. Show you. But every time I sold a boat for him, I'll make a video of the wellhead. $20, $30. We got when Ron gets here, we're gonna make a video. He used to leave, spoon me like, $20, $30. So, and just to keep an eye on everything. He used to leave the motors on. I told him, I says, sooner or later somebody's gonna come by here. And you leave these motors on, somebody's going to steal these motors. And he didn't listen to me. And sure enough, one night somebody came and stole one of the motors off the boat. So that was the end of that. Thieves always taking something that's not theirs. There's a lot of thieves, a lot of them, especially when you live on a main road like I do.
Could we speak to Juan or John?
It's not theirs, There's a lot of thieves, a lot of them, especially when you live on a main road like I do. You're just asking for it after a while. Somebody just come up on your property and steal something that you have. But, those type of people I believe they're all gonna go to hell. Thieves, liars, the unrepented ones. They say, and then the ones that they say they repent, they quit thieving, but they've never been like baptized or anything like that. They've never, they just kind of say they love with their lips, but their heart is far from God. Always taking something that's not theirs, There's a lot of thieves, a lot of them, especially when you live on a main road like I do. You're just asking for it after a while. Somebody just come up on your property and steal something that you have. But, those type of people I believe they're all gonna go to hell. Thieves, liars, the unrepented the unrepentant ones. You know, they say, you know, and then the ones that they say they repent, they quit thieving, but they've never been like baptized or anything like that. They've never, you know, they just kind of say they love with their lips, but their heart is far from God. You know, they just kind of say they love with their lips, but their heart is far from God. And they continue to do the same things. You know, they continue to talk the same way. They speak with guile, you know, in their mouths. But yeah, there was a bunch. Yeah, I let him sell cars too out front. He sold a few cars out front too. It was pretty good. I mean, I have good exposure, so he did all right. He sold a bunch of boats, and, you know. Well, he sold a few, I sold a few, but I was selling these boats for him in Linwood here in Linwood, Michigan. There's that's a picture of my bike my first bike. That's a picture of my first black and red motorized bike. This is the one I sold. I sold this one. I sold it off Craig.
He only suffered an injury to his left hand. There was a dock worker that was attempting to get out of the way of the helicopter, was coming down, slipped, and injured his right wrist. I can turn it over to the car.
Okay, so he injured his right wrist, but he only injured his left hand, trying to get out of the way of the helicopter, and so it sounds like he's taken the mark in his right wrist, but at first he had an injury in his left hand. So let's hear that again.
Helicopter and bring it against the heliport also. We had 2 agents at this time. The pilot's a male, 34 years old. He only suffered an injury to his left hand. There was a dock worker.
He only suffered an injury to his left hand.
That was attempting to get out of the way of the helicopter, was coming down.
Get out of the way of hell.
Slipped and injured his right wrist.
He slipped and injured his right wrist, like the right one, right where you put like the mark of that beast.
Turn it over to the fire department now.
Sure. Mike Cagello, Manhattan Borough Commander, FDNY. Our first unit arrived on the scene approximately 3 minutes after the 911 call came in. A helicopter was at the dock at the time. They were able to talk to the pilot and conduct a search of the aircraft, and which proved negative at that time. We're working now together with NYPD, OEM, in conjunction with NTSB, now to secure the aircraft, bring it to a location where the fire department hazmat will offload the fuel, and at that time the aircraft will be turned over to the NTSB.
Buy boats
from SIP Aviation
or in trailers and stuff from like Craigslist for the boat. But this old man would buy boats or in trailers and stuff from like Craigslist, and he'd find ones that he could get a good deal on, and then he'd bring them back here and mark them up a couple $100 or $100 or $150 or whatever.
Landed into the water.
So I sold fishing boats here in Linwood, Michigan for a short period of time. Here's some of the photos of the boats that he had. Mostly just little fishing boats that were like, you know, he'd sell them for like
as he was making his approach, he crashed
$400 or $500, $300 at a time.
From the helipad. Crash landed into the water.
But he had a bunch of them. There was a lot. And there was always new ones. I sold that
approximately 150 feet.
I remember.
Approximately 150 feet.
He'd buy tractors to get a good deal on. And then he'd bring them back here and mark them up a couple $100 or $100 or $150 or whatever. $100 or $100 or $150 or whatever. Or $150 or what? Or $150 or what? Or $150 or whatever. Because I'd had a heart attack too. By this time, I'd already had 2 heart attacks. You know, and I refused to take the medication. They told me I'd be dead in 6 months. That was back 2012, and I had my first heart attack.
In other words, we're dead in 6 months.
On 11/22/2012, then I had another heart attack 2 years later on 29th 11/29. Both days were Thanksgiving Day. Thanksgiving Day. Both my heart attacks came on Thanksgiving Day. One was on 11/29. The other one was on 11/22. But yeah, we sold the boats out of here. They bought them. They did. They bought them. You know, it was a good business in the summertime. The city, I used to have them across the whole front lawn, but the township sent me a notice and said I couldn't put them over on my lawn because my neighbors were complaining because we had like, I don't know, 20 boats at one time, all like little fishing boats and canoes and I mean, all sorts of stuff, tractors.
You're going to need the lifeguard.
And the city sent me a notice that I had to get them off my lawn. So all I could do is sell them on they couldn't say anything about the lot, parking them on the lot. They couldn't say anything about parking them on.
This just looks funny that there's two shadows right on top of the boat, and there's only one boat there. No, it just must be an optical illusion, like, because it looks like there's a land split right down the middle, like right perfectly in the middle, in between the boat, like right between the boat where it's completely land splitted in the middle there. Because I think that land split has been approved to split the land, and a few weeks is up at the same time.
I had money,
Like
I would
Boeing
probably
57s
in a car.
and
I would probably go out and
private
do the same
airplanes
exact thing.
and
I could probably make
companies.
enough money.
It's all crashing down. Things are
would
just
probably
starting to
sustain
drop
me.
from the skies
Might even,
and
be
into
able
the
to
waters and whatever.
be a
And
decent little
and Home
sideline
Depots,
business for me, but I don't.
Home Depots.
I sold everything that I've owned pretty much.
I don't know if it's a specific
I
Home
got rid
Depot
of it.
or
Battery low, please charge now.
but
I don't know. I'm
Home
tired
Depots
now.
are next.
Tired.
They're next targets.
Figure I got one more
And
last
I'll
little
show you why.
shot before the end comes. So I'll make the best of it. Try to get the building fixed up, get the house fixed up, and try to do some, things. Like I sold some mopeds. If I had money, I would probably in a car. I would probably go out and do the same exact thing. I could probably make enough money to where it would probably sustain me. Might even, be able to be a decent little sideline business for me. But if I had money, I would probably in a car. I would probably go out and do the same exact thing. I could probably make enough money to where it would probably sustain me. Might even, be able to be a decent little sideline business. If I had money, I would probably in a car. I would probably go out and do the same exact thing. I could probably make enough money to where it would probably sustain me. Might even, be able to be a decent little sideline business for me, but I sold everything that I've owned pretty much.
You're lying, and you are
If I
filming
had
someone who doesn't
money,
know that they're being filmed.
I would probably in a car.
And the
I
person
would probably
you
go out
call
and do the
Juan or
same
John
exact
was
thing. I could probably make
probably
enough
only getting
money
paid to rake your yard up,
It would
and you
probably
probably
sustain
found
me.
them at Home Depot.
Might even, be able to
So
be a decent.
to rake your yard up, and you probably found them at Home Depot.
If I had money, I would probably in a car. I would probably go out and do the same exact thing. I could probably make enough money to where it would probably sustain me. Might even, be able to be a decent little sideline business for me, but I sold everything that I've owned pretty much. I would probably go out and do the same exact thing. I could probably make enough money to where it would probably sustain me. Might even, be able to be a decent little sideline business for me, but I sold decent little sideline business for me, but decent little sideline business for me, but he said, little sideline business for me, but I don't have, I sold everything that I've owned pretty much. They told me I'd be dead in 6 months. They told me I'd be dead in 6 months. That was back 2012. And I had my first heart attack in 2012 on 11/22/2012. Then I had another heart attack 2 years later on 11/20. 11/20. I can't remember.
Read the script. It's right in front of you.
29th, 11/29. Both days were Thanksgiving Day. Thanksgiving Day. Both my heart attacks came on Thanksgiving Day. One was on 11/29. The other one was on 11/22. But yeah, we sold the boats out of here. They bought them. They did. They bought them. You know, it was a good business in the summertime. The city, I used to have them across the whole front lawn, but the township sent me a notice and said I couldn't put them over on my lawn because my neighbors were complaining. Because we had like, I don't know, 20 boats at one time, all like little fishing boats and canoes and I mean all sorts of stuff. Tractors.
Get ready for that.
And the city sent me a notice that I had to get them off my lawn, so all I could do is sell them on the. They couldn't say anything about the lot, parking them on the lot. They couldn't say anything about parking them on the lot, but they made me take them off the lawn, or else they were going to issue me a fine. But so we parked them in front of the building like this. Yeah. See, this is the reason why. See how the cracking that's going on right here? That's why I got to tear off the front of the building.
Here comes
it's
the crack. Here comes the
this.
earthquake.
This was a couple years ago.
There's the land
gotten
split.
Way worse than this now. It's even cracking over here now too, and it's cracking the glass. Too,
yep.
So
windows too.
I'll have to tear out.
Here comes the storm.
This whole front's got to come off. When Rod gets here,
goodbye YouTube.
We'll end up
we got
tearing off that front.
6 more days.
We're just going to close it off. We're going to move it back like 12 feet so that I've got more parking space up in front. So that way I'll have a little bit more room at the front for cars to pull in. So, but yeah. So me selling fishing boats in Linwood, Michigan, in Gematria, me selling fishing boats in Linwood, Michigan isn't a lie. I wrote those things that I knew.
That's not a lie.
Me selling fishing boats in Linwood, Michigan.
It's not a lie. I mean, everything else is, but
you'll see selling fishing boats in Linwood, Michigan. Boats in Linwood, Michigan isn't a lie. I wrote those things that I knew to be true. Me selling fishing boats in Linwood, Michigan isn't a lie. I wrote those lie.
You're lying, and you are filming someone who doesn't